here, so we'll open the meeting. This is the planning board meeting for the town of East Fishkill on February 24th, 2022. Will everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Upcoming meeting dates are March 29th and April 19th. We have 2 meeting minutes to approve tonight. The meeting minutes of December 21st, 2021. May I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. And January 18th, 2022. Could I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Carries. We'll do the roll call starting with Craig.
Craig Arco. Richard Campbell.
Lori G.
John Eichman.
Ed Miyoshi.
Sarah Bledsoe.
Okay, couple of cleanup items before we get into presentations. We've been asked to put Hopewell Easy Storage on the agenda tonight so that we can refer them to the ARC and also schedule a public hearing. They were asked to prove up lot coverage per regulations. They've confirmed the lot coverage is appropriate. And so could I have a motion to put Hopewell Easy Storage on the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And could I have a motion to refer them to the ARC?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, carries. Any opposed? And lastly, a motion to set the public hearing for Hopewell Easy Storage during our meeting in March.
So moved. Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Excellent. 2 items that are not going to be on the agenda for this evening are iPark Building A and Estates at Phillips Farm. They're completing their submissions, so they'll be back to see us in March. First item on the agenda is Hopewell Senior Living. It's fairly simple. The applicant is requesting 2 3-month extensions through September 9th for their site plan approval.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Gallagher with Insight Engineering, Surveying, and Landscape Architecture. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Hopewell Village Green. Hopewell Senior Living is an 84-unit apartment complex that was granted a special permit, wetland permit, excavation permit, and site plan approval in March of 2021. Since then, the applicant's been working diligently to coordinate with outside agencies, including the New York State Department of Transportation, as well as coordinating the water and wastewater connections. All technical aspects of the water and wastewater connections are pretty much completed. However, they are still processing some additional coordination and agreements, some of which are with the town, that we believe may take a couple more months in order to process. We have not started construction per the code because we have not started construction within a year. That is why we are here tonight, in order to request an extension. We would, if possible, like to request 2 6-month extensions, if that's possible, to give a total of a 1-year extension.
Remind me, Michael, what are we allowed to do?
You can grant a year extension. For subdivision, that goes in 3-month increments, but since it's site plan, you
Okay.
can grant up to a year.
Okay.
Great.
So per your request, could I have a motion to provide 2 6-month extensions, or effectively a 1-year extension for the site plan approval?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Thank you. Best
Thank
of
you
luck.
so much. We appreciate it.
And the next item on the agenda, iPark Building C.
Just bear with me for a second.
We-
I'm bringing it up, okay?
We are scheduled for a public hearing this evening, so we'll start. May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carries. Okay, the public hearing is open. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Troy Wojciechowski with Stantec, or the engineers for the applicant, National Resources. I think the board all is familiar with the project, but maybe for, well, the audience, I can very briefly run through it. Michelle's going to bring up the site plan. This is basically an infill development of the old IBM facility that's now the iPark development. This project consists, as we call it, Building Area C, and it's a backlot studio site plan, which is basically three areas of basically fake streetscapes that they create with fake building facades, sidewalks, and roadways, and they can change them based on the period or the location that they require. There's also a 20,000 square foot building, which is actually a movie studio. This project is proposed almost exclusively within an existing parking lot, so it's a nice reuse of an existing impervious area. Since, I don't know if I can go through with the board some of the changes we made since the last submission, maybe?
Sure.
As we pull this up, okay.
This is the
there's-
last submission, right?
Yeah, that's it. So there's the detailed site plan there. So this, like I said, is on the southeast side of the iPark property, and the perimeter access drive is along the right side. And you can see those three rectangular areas that are kind of rectangles within rectangles. Those are the fake streetscapes that are created. And then the 20,000 square foot building is in the bottom right corner of the project. There's various parking proposed on the lot for staff, and there's also kind of large-scale parking spots for basically like tour bus type situations, RVs for, I guess, for the movie stars and their staff. One add that we made since the last submission is a parking lot on the left side right there. It's a 100-space parking lot, and that's exclusively for the building to the west of that on the left side, which you can see the front edge of that on the left side of the plan. So what we ended up doing was the one streetscape lot, we ended up kind of shrinking down a little bit so that we could fit that within that area. So that 100-space parking lot basically has access without going through the backlot studio. The backlot studio has a perimeter fence with it, so it's a secure lot. And so that 100-space lot is separate from that. Access to that 100-space lot is, if you were coming out of that lot towards the building, you would make a right and go up through the Global Foundries.
This way?
Correct. There's a perimeter drive, it's called Central Drive, that would be used, so that would be the access for that 100-space lot. The access for the back lots would basically be off of East Drive. The 100 spaces is based on a calculation according to the applicant, who I spoke with today about this. There's apparently 80 to 100,000 square foot of warehouse distribution square footage within that building, and at one space per 1,000 square feet. That's how that 100 spaces was arrived at. There's some additional space in that building, which is vacant right now, some office space, which they have no intention of filling at this point or really in the near future. It was explained to me by the applicant that the office space is really a very competitive market, and it's something that they're not really looking for that building. But if the time does come in the future, there is additional parking, of course, on the west side of that building and kind of in and around it to serve that, whatever use might go in there.
Okay, I'm going to just look at that. Let me bring up the
Sure.
map for that. I think it's probably in the... Right, I'm going to...
And if you want to rotate that, Michelle, clockwise, 90 degrees, that'll get it in the same orientation as we were just looking at. There you go.
Okay, so the additional parking that you're referring to is where? Here or over on the global side?
I think it's both areas, as it was explained to me, but I think One comment that you raised for the Building A submission that we made was to provide an updated parking plan. I understand National Resources previously provided that for a different application. So we'll update that and color code it like was previously done.
Okay, and then I'm assuming you would get easements with Global, or maybe you already have existing easements with Global to traverse these areas and use this?
Correct.
Because right now, the only way out of this parking lot is through basically Global property.
Correct. And it was explained to me by National Resources today that they have existing, it sounds like kind of general cross-access easements,
Okay.
you know, back and forth between iPark and Global Foundry, so that's not going to be an issue. There's also, you can kind of see it on looping on the south, I don't know if that's the south side.
It's right
now.
here?
Yeah, and that's really too narrow for two-way, I believe, but that's actually signed as a fire access route, so that's going to continue.
Yeah, I'm familiar with this. It is narrow back here, and the buildings are pretty close together, and there's parking on either side back in there.
Yeah, it's a little
bit
tight when you get
hectic.
through there.
Yeah. Question, is this the only access in and out of the movie studio? Or, I mean, I saw that there was arrows that went up here, but there's no way out up here, right? Or
No, there is. There's
there
two
is?
access points right
Okay.
where you're looking as well.
Okay, so, and that would also be access into the Global site then, from the movie studio? Because up in here is all Global property.
Yes. I think that piece, that drive actually is part of iParks, but either way, they would have access, you know, it's continued access. There's an existing drive there.
I think CPL had a few comments on the new parking lot. Do you want to go over those?
Just address the parking first, because I had other comments.
Yeah, do the parking first, since we're on that right now, and that's the new ad.
Sure, the new parking has been added to the south end of the site. The grading there at the south end looks like it might need a retaining wall or some additional grading. It's a little bit steep. It's not obvious that curbing is proposed along the northeasterly edge of that lot. How would vehicles be prevented from crossing over from where they're parking along? If you can go back one of the previous sheets.
Very slow. There we go.
Yeah, basically along this edge, I don't know if you can put your cursor along that edge there, you know, was a curbing intended there? Was it supposed to be sidewalks or something to keep a vehicle from going into, because I had spoken with Troy earlier today regarding what that double line is. It looks like it's about 3 feet wide. Like what exactly that is? Is that a studio facade, or is that?
It's my understanding that that's the area where the building facade goes into, so there's no sidewalk proposed along there, but I agree. I think we have to either show bumpers or a little more spacing and with a curb, just to protect the front end of those cars, you know.
Do you happen to know how tall that facade might be?
The buildings, I think they can be like two-story.
Two-story. Now, how are they, I'm assuming that the construction of them is going to be subject to building department review, and I'm just curious how they're constructed and how they're supported from the inside or from the outside, because
I actually put it in there, I don't know, for Christian's sake, he hasn't seen the Backlit Studio. There's a PDF in there that is a presentation that shows some
On the-
graphics of it.
On your,
Yeah, right on the C drive there.
okay, backlot study? Or what?
Yeah, if you open that up. I have to admit, I'm not an expert with how the backlot actually gets put together. But if you keep going, there's, you know, that's kind of what it looks like. Fake building facades.
so it appears that those building facades are the show face to the inside of the space.
Correct.
But are they supported on the outside face somehow?
Sure, continue through, you might see. See some. But the layout of those back lots and the widths was provided by a consultant that, I think this is one of their specialties, laying out a site like this. So I can certainly get more information on, how that. all
Like I said, the actual structure is probably part of the building department review. I'm just curious as to how, if the support of any supports to the outside or the inside are required, that may affect the parking space.
Yeah, it's my understanding that all of the building components is within the outside of that rectangle. So, all the parking outside of it is safe from any, supports and things like that.
And that also would apply to movie set Lot 3? There's a similar...
Yeah, I think all of them are
line
similar.
around that space, so.
Yep.
There's a minor comment regarding grading, tweak to the erosion control. The site lighting plan, there's a little bit of a mismatch between light fixtures on C106 to C107. Do you want to continue with other things? I can go through my letter.
Go ahead.
Just going to go to the start of my letter regarding water supply. Pizza Terra had spoken to someone at the town regarding water supply. It appears that the town needs to possibly create a new water district to serve the project. The current agreement between Global Foundries and Dutchess County Water Wastewater apparently does not cover the iPark projects. Therefore, the town needs to undertake the necessary steps to creating the district, including addressing fire flow requirements. And we have spoken about that. We're going to need some additional information.
Yeah, I think we'll have to see, there seems to be a bit of a disconnect. I spoke with the applicant today about that, and their understanding is that the new water district would be related to different parcels than the parcels A, B, and C. Actually, it's more related to the unbuilt parcels on the south side. But, I have to, check that with CPL's understanding and with the town. That was kind of a last minute kind of thing. But it seems like it's not an issue, but, we'll flesh that out.
Okay. Regarding fire department review, they submitted a letter from Global Foundries stating to the effect that Global Foundries Emergency Response Team will assume control for fire protection services. I'd just like to get a sign-off from the local fire department just to verify if that's an appropriate arrangement, without knowing how Global Foundries works, whether or not they get support from the local fire district. We just want to kind of close the loop on that. And the only other item, the rest of it is detailed work, minor bookkeeping. However, based upon the applicant provided an estimate of about 4,000 cubic yards of cut material as a result of the improvements, that would appear to require a town permit. If the material is to be stockpiled on site, that location needs to be shown with appropriate provisions for it, and we make reference to a town code section. I believe the last requirement there is the stockpile can only be there for about 6 months. So I submit that to the board for their consideration. And that was the upshot of my comment.
Do you have anything else, Michelle?
No, you're going to, when you update the parking list, you're going to include, I guess, is it Building 745? Is that the name?
I think that's what
Okay.
yep.
And you'll include a listing of all the uses and all the vacant spaces in there?
Sure.
Because I'll need to understand the full square footage and because even though there might not be something in there now, we can't leave a giant building with no parking
Sure.
for the future. So I'll need to come up with some sort of parking requirement for that.
Are there any questions from the board members?
Yeah, I have one. The town engineer is discussing about the structure, the staging. Normally, they're supported from the inside. Has the fire advisory board had a chance to review it? Because a lot of times, that type of staging also has fire protection and life safety measures on it.
I'm not aware what the specific materials the Fire Advisory Board has reviewed. However, from the renderings that we saw, it appears that the facade is to the inside, which would suggest that the support would be from the outside.
Yeah, normally wherever they're filming, the support would be on the opposite side, but they would also have curtain fire protection sprinkler. So if that structure were to catch on fire, because there's no roof, so they can't contain the heat, they would have some means of extinguishing the fire before the trucks get there.
I know that the Fire Advisory Boards looked at this, I think, 3 times. The first 2 times they issued comments, it was more access, I think, which we prepared a fire maneuvering plan, and then we also, National Resources received that letter from the fire chief of I guess the company that would actually fight the fires. The last submission to the Fire Advisory Board, they only provided comments for Site A, so I'm assuming that they were, previous comments were resolved, was my take from that. So I think that, plus the letter from Chief Renahan, I think, we're in good shape with the fire officials.
But has it since you've changed the parking and added, has there been a further review of it to understand? Because I know a lot of it had to do with the access and egress
Right.
for emergency equipment to get into that area, because it seems like certain parts of it are extremely tight. So, I mean, just as a quick overview, I would just be curious to understand if they have revisited this plan since you've added the parking.
I believe they have, because
Okay.
the comments we received on A were for the bigger 250,000 square foot site plan that we submitted. So we received comments on that, but nothing on this, was submitted at the same time. Nothing new from them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm going to double check that because I'm also concerned that I don't know how much access the fire trucks will have to 745.
Yeah.
Because at this point, this parking lot is kind of like a dead end. This one that's created, if there's
Yeah.
cars throughout here, it's not going to be easy to, if this is full, it's not going to be easy to maneuver around that at all.
Right.
And also the site being contained all with fence, again, I think that egress would be, a top issue with regards to the fire part of this, together with what Craig said, because I couldn't imagine that a 2-story structure, and I don't know, I'm not going to guess as to how they're going to construct them, but I would assume that some of it's going to contain a wood
I think so, yeah.
truss and, some type of engineered system, but I would think there should be something with regards to fire containment that should be looked at here, because we're not talking just a very tiny structure. I mean, even though it's not a box and it's not a building, there's still a lot of square footage that's, face value that would really, I would think, need to have some type of fire containment or, fire safety on it.
And I've actually heard, as Mr. Arco had said, that I believe that it is essentially sprinklered. I had heard that from an architect buddy of mine.
Okay.
We can certainly confirm that.
Yeah, right now, we're showing the fire apparatus maneuvering plan. It's sheet 11 out of 15. It shows a fire vehicle entering the site from, the top of the view, which is actually the west side, and just going straight through and out of the area here. I think we may, the fire department may wish to examine whether or not the vehicle can get into the new 100 space lot, if that's required, or if the firefighting provisions, either vis-a-vis sprinklers, if that's sufficient there, because now they're kind of creating a little bit of a choke point there in case a fire vehicle needs to get in there to address an issue at that exterior facade right there. We just want to make sure that the fire board is aware of this change and that they're fine with it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members before we open it to public comment? Is there anyone from the public here to speak for or against the project? Okay, very good. If there are no other questions or comments, I'd say it sounds like you've got quite a few things that you're going to be working on for the next meeting. Updating parking plans, working on the fire department access things, easements through Global Foundries. We want to confirm those, I think. Confirmation of a new water district, whether that comes into play on this or not. I'm not sure if there was anything else, but I'm sure you made better notes than I. So since there are several things that are going to be held over, I think we'll adjourn the public hearing for this evening, and we'll adjourn it to our March meeting. We'll open it up again then when we can receive all of that new information and go from there. So could I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing to our March meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries. Very good. Thank you.
Thanks.
Very much.
I think we beat the snow.
Is there any other business to be brought before the board this evening? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you all.